some comes in on the 1, I heard a 4, I mean, so they're... God is 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Are we getting all that? There. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what you're saying. So I think that's right. I think the way it's here is right. Yeah, because it must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
Great church from what the times we've been raised.
The teenagers choose to go even when they don't have to.
Well, that's a good sign.
That's all.
Because I didn't see
Serious visitor here.
That's Angelo, right? Yeah. Is that what you're doing for Angelo?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ed Mohandro. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm a member of the board here at Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. And on behalf of our board, and on behalf of our program council and our worship committee, I'm happy to welcome you here today. As we gather here today, we want you to know that you're surrounded by the love of this community where all are welcome. And please join me in sending a welcoming wave to our friends and loved ones who are watching remotely. Whoever you are, wherever you're from, and wherever you are on your journey, you are so very welcome here today. We welcome people of all abilities, all backgrounds, all cultures, all faiths, all genders, and all sexuality. In other words, people like us. If this is your first time or your 101st time here, we extend a welcome. Excuse me just a minute while I fiddle with my papers up here. You know you're welcome here. That's the finishing sentence. Before going any further, I want to call all of our attention to our safety concerns. We want you to know about the exits from the sanctuary. There are 2 exits in the rear on each side of the large organ. There are 2 exits in front, behind the curtains on my right and left. And if you need any accessibility aids, such as a large print hymnal, a hearing device, or noise-canceling headphones, we have those on a cart outside near the welcoming table. And one of our ushers will be happy to help you if you had overlooked those when you came into the sanctuary. And if you'd like more information about our church, we invite you to fill out a visitor's card. This visitor's card should be found in a pocket on the chair in front of you. And if there's not one there, please stop by and look for a friendly face around our welcoming table in the lobby. And in addition, you can visit our website, tvuuc.org, and select Stay in Touch. If you'd like a tour of the building after the service, please look for me or any other friendly face around the welcome table. If you're interested in our religious exploration classes, we invite you to stop at the religious exploration table in the gallery as you exit the sanctuary. You can also find more information on our website. And small children, if you're visiting with small children, which I don't see many this morning, but we invite you to sit up front where it's easier for the little ones to participate and see what's going on. And you don't feel like you have to keep them still. And if you need to change your seat during the service, please feel free to do that. And if you need to step out and you'd like a little silence, we invite you to sit in the E.E. Cummings glassed room back here on my left. And a comment about our offering. This week's offering is a generosity offering for Family Promise. Family Promise helps families experiencing homelessness, helps them to build stability, and ways that are to give are listed in our order of service, including a QR code that will take you directly to the giving page. Okay, we have a few announcements I'd like to run through. This is our first Sunday potluck lunch, so we'll gather after the service in the Greg McKendry Fellowship Hall, and all are welcome, including our visitors. This month's forum, FORUM, I kind of pronounce it forum, it's on June the 14th, and we've been invited to join the rationalist of the East Tennessee Skeptics Book Club to discuss Nir Elam's book, Beyond Belief. We will explore neuroscience on limiting versus empowering beliefs, and that's these effects on our resilience, happiness, and health. That's on June the 14th. On June the 19th, we want you to join us for the Juneteenth celebration. This will begin with the MLK parade. We'll have a tent at booth at the Dr. William Hardy Park on MLK Boulevard. And there's a mistake in the order of the service. There's a QR code, and this QR code doesn't connect you to the Juneteenth celebration information. What it does, it connects you to celebrate Pride Month. And you can celebrate by volunteering with the TV UUC Welcoming Congregation program at the Pride Festivals on June 20 and June 27. And also we'd like to mention that we have an outdoor adventure club here at TV UUC, and we're invited to join for hikes, biking, kayaking, climbing, and other ways to enjoy nature and build friendships. Come to the interest meeting after the Sunday service on June the 21st. Also today we have a meeting of our starting point. This will be in room C, and the session will be at 1 o'clock after the potluck lunch. This is a session for those interested in membership as well as for established members. It offers newcomers and old-timers an opportunity on how to explore Unitarian Universalism and how it can make a difference in our lives. If you decide if UUism is right for you, and is also an opportunity to reflect on our beliefs and values. And now, if you haven't already done so, please silence any electronic devices as we enter into fellowship together.
People get ready, there's a train a-coming. Don't need no vacuum just thank the Lord.
Good morning. Our opening words this morning are in honor of today being the first Sunday of Pride Month, and we really need pride this year. We need our allies now more than we have in a long time. Please, please not only volunteer, but also come to a Pride Fest. We need our allies there with us. We need those free mom hugs and dad hugs. We need to see parents raising their kids with love. We need to see you supporting us, and together, maybe the colors of the rainbow will shine just a little brighter this year. And now for our opening words, A Protest and a Party by Hannah Roberts Villeneuve. People sometimes ask, is pride a protest or a party? And the answer is, of course, yes. And why not? Why not rejoice as we resist? Dance as we demand change? Celebrate as we create community that delights in all of who we are. So bring all of that with you this morning. Bring your policy demands, bring your glitter, bring your Supreme Court broken heart, bring your rainbow socks, bring your emptiness you feel for our siblings gone too soon. Bring your Gloria Estefan remix, bring your tender hope for change, bring your most garish eyeshadow. Bring your spirit, tattered and battered by a world that seems insistent on choosing fear and hate. Gather up all these things and bring them here, to a place where we don't have to shoulder those burdens alone or celebrate these joys alone. Come, let us worship together.
You to join together in singing hymn 30 in the gray hymnal, Over My Head. I invite you into this time of sharing joys and concerns. And we got hit hard this week with the death of Faye Joyce. She was a bright light, full of vitality and love and positive spirit, and she influenced all who knew and loved her. Along with the sadness, we want to acknowledge the power of 31 members of this congregation who sat with Faye during her last days or had signed up to do so. Another joy is the care that she received from nurses and caretakers at her assisted living residence who are very devoted to her. And our condolences go out to her granddaughter, Sarah Litton, and you can sign a card to her and to the caretakers at the nursing home where she was at our caring table. Ann Barber has shared with us that she was able to say goodbye to her sister Sue Gay Barber Voss last week before her sister's death on Friday. Ann described her sister, who went by Gay, as fearlessly inquisitive and who, after majoring in anthropology, became a gifted journalist and writer. She worked for several newspapers in Florida, Illinois, before she and her husband settled in Coleman, Alabama, where she continued to be active in her community. Please join me in sending love to Ann and her family. And last, Dwayne Krager. Husband of Linda Krager, who donated many of his wife's books, the ones she loved to read and the ones that she wrote herself, with a special emphasis on the value of religious freedom, and Roger Williams. And they are now housed in our Linda Krager Library. She was one of the people killed in the hate crime in this sanctuary many years ago. And Dwayne was a sweet, gentle, and kind man who I often reconnected with over the years at protest rallies. And no matter what his level of ability, he would come and sit if he couldn't stand, just to be present. And our thoughts and prayers are with our friends and family at the Westside Unitarian Universalist Church, where he belongs, They will be celebrating his life on Saturday, June 20th at 2 p.m. And then there will be an interment of ashes following the service in the Linda Krager Memorial Brook. So they will be reunited together. With these joys and concerns which have been spoken and those which remain unspoken, let us send light to those families affected and out into the world with our Sending You Light song.
I'm Reverend Laura Bogle, one of your affiliated community ministers. And as we settle in for a time of meditation and prayer, first want to invite us just to remember our bodies. Don't have to do anything special, just bring some attention to where you are sitting. You can leave your eyes closed or open them, either way. Just pause for a moment and bring some attention to your breath. Again, you don't have to do anything different or special. Just remember that we each are alive here together this morning, breathing in the out breath of the trees and all the green living things surrounding us. And as we exhale, we send that breath back to them. Every moment of every day we are alive. What a gift. When we pause, we have the opportunity to tune in to the glory and the freedom and the trouble and the gladness that is swirling always around us, over us, in us, between us. This prayer is inspired by and woven through with the words of the fierce lover and writer and teacher Bell Hooks. The light of love is always in us, no matter how cold the flame, always present, waiting for the spark to ignite, waiting for the heart to awaken. We do not have to love. We choose to love. When we love, we let our hearts speak. We do this, we gather week in and week out because we yearn to end the lovelessness around us. We often do not live up to the love we profess, and so we need a moment together when we can return to love. There can be no love without justice, and the heart of justice is truth-telling. Everywhere we learn that love is important, and yet we are bombarded by its failure. This bleak picture in no way alters the nature of our longing. We still hope that love will prevail. We still believe in love's promise. Love is as love does. Love is an act of will, namely both an intention and an action. And so, Spirit of life, God beyond our naming, now we let our hearts speak to you. In the silence, we name what breaks our hearts and what brings our hearts joy and gladness. We remember and reset our intentions that we might move more and more for love and with love. May it be so. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Eleanor Williams. I'm a member of the worship committee and very happy to be here this morning. Frederick Douglass, the most important leader of a movement for African American civil rights in the 19th century, delivered his speech, The Limits of Tyrants, on August 3rd, 1857. The speech was part of the West India Emancipation Celebration in Camberwell, New York, where he emphasized the resilience of those oppressed by tyranny. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. Please open your gray hymnal books to responsive reading, 579, The Limits of Tyrants. I will read the bold, and please everyone read the italics. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are people who want crops without plowing up the ground. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Find out what people will submit to, and you have found out the exact amount of injustice which will be imposed upon them. Our next song would be Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around. And a big thank you to Denise Coleman for being here this morning and the band. Bayard Runyon was a prominent civil rights activist who spoke out against racial segregation and injustice during the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. This event, held on August 28, 1963, was a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement where Rustin played a key organizing role of the march, where Dr. Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech. Rustin was a gay Quaker, but his memorial was held in the Community Church of New York, which is Unitarian Universalist. Not long before he died, Rustin wrote his reply to a critic of his worldview. My activism did not spring from being Black. Rather, it is rooted fundamentally in my Quaker upbringing and the values instilled in me by my grandparents who reared me. Those values were based on the concept of a single human family and the belief that all members of that family are equal. The racial injustice that was present in this country during my youth was a challenge to my belief in the oneness of the human family. It demanded my involvement in the struggle to achieve interracial democracy. But it is very likely that I would have been involved had I been a white person with the same philosophy. I worked side by side with many white people who held these values, some of whom gave as much, if not more, to the struggle than myself.
We now invite you to give generously to the continuing work of our congregation.
I was born by the river in a little tent, born just like the river. I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I go to the movies and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to my mother and I say, Mother, help me, please. She said, I'd like to, but I'm not able. Then I'm back down on my knees. Oh, there've been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will.
There's an Indian folk tale about a snake that was known as being vicious and biting everyone who walked along a particular path through the mountains. And so everyone was very afraid of this snake. But one day, a holy man was walking on the same trail, and the snake was sort of overcome by his aura and agreed to accept some teaching. And so the holy man taught him meditations of love and kindness. And so the snake agreed to stop being so vicious, and he would sort of coil up there and meditate on loving kindness. And the holy man went on his way. A few days later, the holy man came back and found that snake stomped into the ground and battered and bruised. And he said, "What happened?" And the snake said, "Well, you know, I did exactly what you told me, but then these group of teenagers came by and they saw me and they got scared and they stomped all over me." And he said, "But why?" You know, the holy man said, "Why didn't you do anything?" And the snake said, "Well, you told me not to bite anyone." And the holy man said, "Yes, but I never told you you couldn't hiss." This morning, I want to talk about how we can be peacemakers without being pushovers. The Tao Te Ching says, before there can be peace in the world, there has to be peace among nations. Before there can be peace among nations, there must be peace in the cities. Before there can be peace in the cities, there has to be peace in the neighborhoods. Before there can be peace in the neighborhoods, there has to be peace in the home. Before there can be peace in the home, there has to be peace in the heart. So I want to talk about what's in our hearts this morning. And if I had to add a line to the Tao Te Ching, and it wouldn't fit very well, but I would add it and say, before there can be peace in the heart, or peace in the home, or peace in the world, there has to be courage. There has to be courage. When I was a senior in high school in 1983, my girlfriend at the time, Ann Willis, suggested that we go see Gandhi, the movie starring Ben Kingsley and directed by Richard Attenborough. And I'm embarrassed and even mortified to admit I didn't really want to go to the movie because I was intimidated by the fact that it was 3 hours and 11 minutes long, which is a long time in the life of a teenager. But her enthusiasm was contagious, and I went along, and watching that movie was truly transformational. And an outward and visible sign of that transformation, of that inner and invisible transformation, is I have 18 books about Mahatma Gandhi on my shelf. And I have a Gandhi statuette among my many other kind of statues that are there. So kudos to Ann Willis and her good judgment. Mahatma Gandhi was an apostle of nonviolence. It's what he's known most for. But he felt that the way of peace required courage. In other words, in order to be a peacemaker, we cannot be pushovers. He wrote, "My creed of nonviolence is extremely active. It has no room for cowardice. There is hope for a violent man to be someday nonviolent, but there is none for the coward. I have therefore said more than once that if we do not know how to defend ourselves, our women, and our places of worship by nonviolence, we must be able to defend all these by fighting." But on another occasion he said, "But I believe that nonviolence is infinitely superior to violence. I do not believe India to be helpless. I do not believe myself to be a helpless creature. Strength doesn't come from physical capacity, it comes from indomitable will." By pure coincidence, I booked based on how expensive it was, or inexpensive, a hotel in London when I was over there teaching at Unitarian College, and it just happened to be in Gandhi's old neighborhood, which I discovered when he was studying for law. I discovered when I walked to the park across the street, and there's a statue of him. But the other thing we need to know about that is that neighborhood, to borrow a phrase from David Bowie, that neighborhood was suffragette city. And that while he was studying law, the suffrage movement was at work. So he got a lot of his lessons in nonviolence and courage from the suffragist movement. So if we take Gandhi at his word, the first step to becoming a peacemaker is cultivating courage within ourselves. Which reminds me of something I told the Ministerial Search Committee a long time ago. In the year 2000, they asked me why I wanted to come be minister of this church, and I said, because this is a brave congregation. This congregation was founded in 1949 in a segregated city, in a segregated state, in the segregated South. The congregation was meeting in Christenberry Junior High School, and one morning, Jim Pearson, an African-American gentleman, walked up to our sign that said, "Welcome," and said, "Does that sign mean me?" And the usher at the time, Harry Wiersma Sr., said, "Yes, it does," and welcomed him. And the congregation voted that they would not discriminate on the basis of race, which meant they were committing an act of civil disobedience. because the school was segregated by law. They continued to meet in a non-segregated basis in that school until they lost the lease in a contentious school board meeting where there were racist language thrown about and accusations of communism. If you ever meet someone in Knoxville who describes the Unitarian Church as a communist organization, it probably dates to that meeting. Our church became a center of a storm. We risked violence against ourselves in order to advance nonviolent social change. The most courageous person in that story is Jim Pearson, and we come second in that contest of courage. I have a friend who is a white Pentecostal minister, slightly older than me, Tony Ritchie, who grew up in East Knoxville, which is a predominantly African-American part of town. He's a white minister. But he said after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, there was fear in the neighborhood. People were boarding up their windows, afraid of violence and vandalism. And when the Poor People's Campaign came through town, Dr. King's last big protest march, walking from all over the country on a journey to Washington, D.C. to protest in favor of poor people's rights. When they came to Knoxville, everyone was afraid, he said, except for this group of people I'd never heard of called Unitarians, who were feeding the marchers in East Knoxville on the fairgrounds. So that's one Pentecostal minister who gained new respect for Unitarians. Once again, we were the center of a storm, willing to risk violence against ourselves in order to advance nonviolent social change. There are many other stories I could tell about our congregation's work in civil rights and labor and women's rights and LGBTQIA, etc. rights. But it's not really my purpose today. And as we learned about the death of Dwayne Krager, memories of when this church became a target of hate, when his wife was killed and Greg McKendry was killed, a reminder that our congregation has continually been willing to risk violence against ourselves to advance nonviolent social change. In the spirit of Dr. King, who said, "Peace is not the absence of tension, but the presence of justice." But I will be honest with you for a moment. I'm the youngest of 5 children, and so nonviolent change was always in my self-interest. Violent change was never going to work out well for me and my family of origin, and that is part of why I've spent my life studying it and learning more about it. And I think there are skill sets there that help any group that feels comparatively powerless in their family or in their neighborhood or their country or their world. And at the heart of it is discovering courage within ourselves. This year, I've been reading a book. It is an excellent book, recently released, called Nonviolent, a memoir of resistance, agitation, and love by Reverend Jim Lawson, and with some assistance from Emily Yellen. James Lawson went to prison as a conscientious objector in the Korean War. He was one of the principal architects of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. He was in Montgomery, Alabama, helping train activists in the bus boycott movement. He was in Little Rock, Arkansas, helping teenagers learn the skills they would need to desegregate the schools. He was in Nashville training young adults in the sit-in movement. He was a catalyst for the Freedom Rides. He was everywhere, including working and organizing sanitation workers in Memphis when Dr. Martin Luther King was killed. If Dr. King was the preacher of the movement, James Lawson was the teacher, teaching people the practical skills of nonviolent social change. To quote C.T. Vivian, who I met at the University of T once, another one of the acolytes of Dr. King, he said, "It's not enough to have a dream, you have to have a strategy." And that's where James Lawson came in. He was an excellent strategist as well as an excellent teacher. So I probably should tell this story, personal story, because under a set of unusual circumstances, I found myself sitting next to James Lawson at a conference. I just looked over and there he was. And I said, during the break, I've got to use this moment right and ask some kind of question or start a conversation. So when the break came, I said, "How does it feel to have a chapel named after you in the theology school that kicked you out?" If you don't know the story, Vanderbilt Divinity School is where James Lawson studied for the ministry, but they kicked him out because of his activism in the civil rights movement. And because James Lawson is an excellent teacher, he responded to my question with another question. He said, "Chris, if Unitarian Universalism is so broad and so inclusive and so welcoming, how come you're not the largest denomination on the planet Earth?" It's an excellent question, and one I've been pondering ever since. That's what good teachers do. They ask excellent questions. There was no greater advocate for nonviolence in his lifetime than James Lawson. Oddly enough, his calling to nonviolence began when he was 4 years old. He was 4 years old, and a neighbor used a racist term to describe him, used the N-word in his face. And here's how Lawson describes his response in his autobiography. He said, "I balled up my fist, reached back as far as I could, swung my arm around with determination, and hit him in the jaw hard." And while this act was in no way nonviolent, young Lawson began on that day, it was an awakening experience for him on how should I respond to racism? How should I respond to bigotry when it's right there in my face? He wrote, "God gave me a task that day to resist racism, to continually unmask it, along with any other efforts to diminish human beings. It was the beginning of a spiritual journey in which I would always, with every ounce of energy and life I had in me, challenge racist definitions of myself and other people. Forever after that day in 1933, I would never accept such behavior from anyone, and I would spend my whole life helping others refuse that kind of degrading and devaluing treatment." Now, when I picked up that book called Nonviolent, I was not expecting it to begin with a punch. That surprised me. But I think what Reverend Lawson is trying to say is that in the work for nonviolent social change, courage comes first and nonviolence later. And the techniques he developed for nonviolent social change have been utilized by organizations like ACT UP and Soul Force and our own denomination, the Metropolitan Community Church, and churches of many different faiths to advance the rights of people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning. Bayard Rustin, who was the organizer of the March on Washington, where Dr. King gave his "I Have a Dream" speech, was a gay man, and he used the principles he learned in the civil rights movement to advance the cause of equality for every people based on the simple principle of the human race being one family and all of us equal. And so it is Pride Month, and there's a lot of reactionary stuff going on. Somebody came up to me in the coffee hour and said, "How do you feel that the Department of Defense no longer recognizes Unitarian Universalism?" And I said, "That's okay, I don't recognize the Department of Defense." At least under this guy. I want to honor the people who've served in the military, and I have friends and family who've worked in the Pentagon who really, before it was called the Department of War, and really was about national defense. I want to honor, and we're going to learn in a forum after church about the people who fought for the Union, for the abolition of slavery, advancing many causes that we care about. And so I want to honor that. But we are living in a time where there is reactionary policies and reactionary legislation coming from our state capital and our nation's capital. And so now is the time to summon our courage. What do we need? Courage. That's right. Now, when I was in high school, there was a group of us hanging out in between classes. And all of a sudden, this really cute black Labrador just walked up, one of the cutest dogs you've ever seen. And all of a sudden, without anybody expecting it, a teenager walked up, pulled out a knife, and stabbed the dog. And I ran over there and got in that guy's face, and I gave him a piece of my mind and picked up that dog and took it to the church. I took it to the school office so it could get some medical attention. And to this day, when my friends tell that story, what they highlight is how stupid I was to do that, because the guy had a knife and he just stabbed another living being, and I'm up there speaking truth right in his face. What an idiot. But all I can tell you is sometimes courage comes first and wisdom later. Sometimes you just need that as the foundation, and then you can figure everything else out. So in conclusion, let me say we are living in a difficult time in our nation's history and our world history, where many of the old strategies for change seem to be hitting a brick wall. These are incredible times. We are living in an age when we have to rethink and reimagine what it means and how we can dismantle racism in the face of a hostile state legislature and a hostile Congress and a hostile Senate and a hostile Supreme Court and a hostile White House. Well, the good news is we live in a good city with a good city council and a good mayor, and we are members of a good congregation. And this congregation has the basic ingredient needed to advance the work, and that basic ingredient is courage. I'll stand by my statement to the Ministerial Search Committee. This is a brave congregation, and even though we may not bite, we have never forgotten how to hiss. Amen. Our closing hymn is hymn 169. I invite you to rise in body or spirit. We shall overcome, but we're going to begin with the verse, "We are not afraid." That's the first one we're going to sing.
We are not
Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love. Proclaim the truth that makes us free.